I have read 59 books in 2025, and these are my 9 favorites of the first quarter of 2025. Hi, my name is Crystal. Welcome back to my channel where I primarily talk about indie romance books that I read on Kindle Unlimited, emphasizing spicy romance books. Now, I'm gonna do my top reads of 2025. Now, I'm listing only 9. I've been having a pretty decent reading year so far. My average rating right now is at 4.17 on Storygraph. I have a lot of 4 stars, 4.5 stars specifically. I have sprinkled in with some 5 stars there, which probably are majority of the ones I'm going to talk about, and some 4.25s. So let's get into it. Ironically, I want to say most of the books on this list are queer romances. They are specifically MM pairing. I do have one MF pairing. I've been pretty much on a queer MM and also black romance kind of journey. First book would be End It All by Brea, Alepoú, and Skyler Snow. This is a co-write. This is book 5 in the Vitali Brothers series that features 5 brothers that are all queer. They all end up with men, and it is delicious. I do think you have to read them all in order to understand what's going on, because this brother comes out of nowhere. He's not the core 3, technically 4. You would know what I mean when you read the entire series. It is mafia, like dark mafia leaning, so if you want an MM romance that heavily has mafia elements to it, is a little bit dark and gritty, this would be a good series for you to start. Personally, my favorite is book 3, which is Say I Do. I talk about that book at least once a week, okay? If you follow me on my other socials, you know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm posting a video about it at least once a month, if not that. And then in private group chats, I'm talking about him. But this one follows Blake Moreno, aka Vitali, who finds out who his daddy is. And he comes to reunite with his brothers, and what ensues is, this is kind of like the aftermath of the little like street war that they had going that you have to read in the other books. Quincy is the best friend of Harlow, who's book 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, it all ties together. You kind of you have to read them all in order to understand what the heck I'm talking about. Poetry on Ice by Jessie Rain. This is a hockey romance. This is a very grumpy sunshine, rivals to lovers, but they end up, one of them ends up being transferred, or is it transferred? No, traded to the other's team, and they have to work together on the same team. He kind of doesn't understand why Anthony's so antagonistic towards him. It makes it delicious because they fight all the time, even like on the ice when they're supposed to be like partners. So the management and the coaches make them room together, and they have to like be together, so it's like a lot of forced proximity in that one, and it is so delicious. I think Jessie Rain writes the best like grumpy with a himbo sunshine pairing. I like the fact that the sunshine one can kind of decipher the grumpy ones like grunts and like their body cues and stuff like that. That is my favorite thing. I love it when they're like, you're not actually mad, you're scared of your feelings. Like, I really like that. Next 2 are from Onley James. This is Paladin Rouge. These are book 1 and 2 in the Jericho Boy series, which is a spin-off of the Necessary Evil series, which I've also talked about before. This is, again, one of those like dark romances that's not too dark. It does have dark themes, but a lot of things are kind of glossed over. So I think these are probably would be perfect starter dark romances. Lynn is Arseni and Ever. Arseni saves Ever by accident because he's part of a vigilante, like a home, what's the word? Like a neighborhood watch type situation. Jericho is married to one of the Mulvaney brothers, but before he was married, they were the ones that took care of the trash in their neighborhoods. And a lot of people will reach out to Jericho, and Arseni is part of the little misfit gang that he has. Not necessarily a gang. Like, there are a bunch of boys that like grew up together in the neighborhood, and they banded together and they follow Jericho like baby ducks. So yeah, Paladin, that is his gamer tag, because they play PC games, which is like a central theme in that. And then Ever, that is the name he comes up with because he was never actually named, and he used to love reading fairy tales. And it's like so sad, but then it's so sweet at the same time. And Ever is like the baby of the whole group. Everyone loves him. He is soft, he is sunshine. They want to surround him in wool. So, and speaking of surrounding him in wool, they want to do the same thing to book 2, which is Shiloh. Shiloh and Levi have a weird meet cute because Shiloh is sent to the convenience store that Levi works at to kill him as a message to Jericho, because so everything kind of ties back to Jericho. I would say you probably should read the Necessary Evil series. These books are not on Kindle Unlimited. I will say that. Like, for the first 90 days that the book is out, they will be on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have the subscription, otherwise you would have to buy the ebook on Amazon. I would suggest going to the author's website, because the author does have a bundle that is much, much cheaper, and the money goes directly to the author. So if that's what you want to do, you want to read these. Rhythms Blues by Kimberly Brown. This is going to be the only MF book in this list. This is a black romance. Rhythm has a rapper boyfriend who has been acting real funny, real shady, and things happen. She ends up breaking up with him. He thinks it's a joke. He thinks it's a break. He thinks she just needs some time away, but she's really about to like leave him. She has a one-night stand. Has no idea who the one-night stand guy is. They just have really good chemistry. The spicy time was splicing. You know what I'm saying? But then they realize how they have someone in common, which is the rapper ex-boyfriend. Channing is his producer, and obviously Rhythm is his ex-girlfriend. Rhythm's kind of like, oh no, because then her ex-boyfriend is trying to win her back, and I was like, girl, you better stay strong. You better not give him the time of day. She was wavering. She was wobbling a little bit. I was like, girl. But Channing also put a little bit of pressure on her. Was like, listen, whatever you're trying to do, that's fine, but I want to be with you. So they got together, and then the ex found out. It was very messy. He tried, to get back at them, and ultimately it didn't work out in his favor. I have 3 books by Emmy Sanders in this list, and I am on a journey to read her entire backlist. I think I'm about 50% in, maybe? I don't know. But first book that I've ever read, which is To Catch a Firefly. I do own a copy of it. To Catch a Firefly by Emmy Sanders. This is a beautiful, actually kind of relatively low angst or low external angst, and it's more angsty between the friends. It's childhood friends to lovers, mutual pining, small town. Meaning of, you have to read the book to understand the meaning of To Catch a Firefly. It is central to the whole plot. There's 2 best friends, Ellis and Lucky. Ellis is on the ASD spectrum. He has autism, and he also has selective mutism, so he doesn't really speak. They are both pining for each other, not knowing that the other one is in love with the other one. I almost boohoo cried. I'm not gonna lie. I personally think this is one of my top favorites. If I had to pick one of Emmy Sanders' books, this will be number 1 for sure. 10 Ways to Accidentally Fall in Love. Now this one is more of a rom-com. I was giggling with this one, I'm not gonna lie. Rom-coms for me sometimes are misses, because I think a lot of the times they're trying too hard to be funny, and it's not really funny. This one was funny. It's mainly because Brad is so clueless of the fact that everything he says is an innuendo. Like, there's some sexual meaning behind them, but to him, it's just him talking. A queer awakening, because Brad is technically, in the beginning of the book, he believes he's straight, and he develops a friendship with Joey, who they meet at the gym. So Brad is a definition of a gym bro, frat boy kind of type of character, but in a loving way. And Joey thought Brad was gay and he was trying to score a date, and they ended up just being friends, and Brad made it his mission to play matchmaker for Joey and get him a boyfriend, because Joey wanted a relationship. He wants to fall in love. But there's a lot of things that they spend a lot of time together, so it's like more of a friends to lovers, like a strangers friends to lovers situation. And then Brad realizes that he actually develops feelings for Joey in the middle of a date that Joey is on. And he was like, actually, like, I don't want you to date anyone else. I want you to date me. And then obviously it's a little bit of like slowly exploring that queer side of himself with Joey. And it's actually just really cute at the same time that it was funny. I read this out of order because the author has another series, which I just finished binge reading the series, and it's the Elite Eight. And you meet Brad in that series, which is Himbo, which is book 5? 4? I think 4. It's book 4, and he's the clueless straight friend. Reading that one after his book, you're like, yeah, there was signs. He was never straight. There was signs. This one is on my list because it made me boohoo cry, and there's not too many books that can do that. You won't see me cry, but this one made me cry. The first 50% is gut-wrenching, okay? Because this starts in an older timeline. It starts in 1991 when both characters are 11. They are childhood friends. They live in a small conservative town in Texas. One of them, he kind of knew from an early age that he was gay and confided in his best friend, and his best friend looked at him and was like, I don't see you any different. You're my best friend. Then as they grow up, this, Wyatt, he develops a puppy love for Easton. Kind of just wills that it would go away. While that kind of made me tear up, that whole like him one-sided pining, what really did break my heart was when something that happens in the small town that causes Wyatt to leave, and when he leaves, like both of their hearts are broken. Easton doesn't understand why to him like this is hurting him more than anything he thought it would. Back of my head, I was like, because you love that man, you just don't realize it. Wyatt needs to leave. He leaves for a time. Then Easton does get married to his fiance, and I was just like, girl, why are you gonna keep making me cry? Please. It's like kind of told in like 3 different timelines. So the first is kind of the past when they were like 11 up to age, I think 22, I think. Then the other timeline is when they're in their like from 24 around there. Wyatt does end up moving back. So then that's the timeline where they are kind of reunited again. Nothing happens from there. And then the third timeline is 10 years later. They are in their 30s, and we are in a more progressive town. We're in early, like this book I think was written like 2019, so at that time it was probably written for like 4 or 5 years prior to 2019, and things are a little bit progressive. Our 2 single men that are raising a child together, because Easton does have a child with his, and I'm not going to say anything more about what happens. The overall theme of the story, because it's written in like 3 parts, is you have to see the things that they go through in order for them to actually come together as a couple. They stay friends, they stay very best friends throughout their entire life. So it's not like Wyatt moves away and then they just stop talking to each other. Obviously there's a little bit of a distance and a little bit of a strain, but at the core of it, they still are best friends. And I think that's why I like really was like, this is amazing writing and amazing storytelling, I'm not gonna lie. And then last but not least, Kiss the Villain by Rina Kent. I did read this towards the end of March, mid-March. Highly anticipated. This is the second MM book that Rina Kent has done. It is dark, so if you want to compare this to God of Fury, you are in for a rude awakening. This is not God of Fury kind of writing. God of Fury was definitely, while it was angsty in terms of like emotional with them, it wasn't really dark. Rina reunites us with her darkness in this one. A little bit of dubcon, bordering almost on non-con. In the beginning of the book, they don't like each other. It's very much hate to love, or hate to lust to love type situation. Age gap, because one, professor, student, and stuff. I enjoyed it. I did both the ebook and the audio. That was a great time personally. I like doing the immersive reading for Rina Kent's books. If you've never done it, I highly, highly encourage it, especially since now a lot of her newer stuff is duet or full cast, and I think that's a perfect reading experience, I'm not gonna lie. Caden's out for revenge, and Gareth is a tool for him to use. I'm not gonna say too much. I know people still haven't read it, and this one is one of those books and series and authors that people ruin for other people. I will say this made me very, very, very excited for the rest of the series, because the rest of the series of this villain series is all going to be MM. The next one is going to be Vaughn and Julian, or is it Julian with a Y? I don't know how to pronounce it. I think I pronounce it like Julian. And they're going to be like the two Bratva heirs. You know, they're next in line to be Pakan. Anyways, those are the 9 books that I have loved so far. The first quarter of 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!